Thursday, November 2nd, and welcome to the Damon Bruce Show. It's great to have you back here. It really is. Thank you so much for stopping on by. And what I want to talk about today is a little something that I posted about yesterday when I learned of the passing of Bob Knight. Look, you know, this basketball behind me, it's got Bobby's autograph on it right there. And, you know, you can't have attended 95-7 the game. Or you can't have attended Indiana University. Sorry, I'm looking over here saying, it's a 95-7 the game burner account. Drew Down thinks we got a burner account on here. Drew Down. See, this is why I can't have even the chat open. I get distracted. I did attend 95-7 the game. I don't anymore. I did attend Indiana University, and I don't anymore. But when you are a Hoosier, Bob Knight means an awful lot. And when I was at KNBR, Bruce Bochy meant an awful lot. And then, you know, when I was at 95-7 the game, Steve Kerr meant an awful lot. I have, through a little luck, a little happenstance, been in the presence of some real coaching, managerial greatness in my still short time covering sports. You know, I've only been doing this about 20 years, and I have, you know, run across 3 Hall of Fame caliber human beings who have managed to the ultimate levels of success. And they've done so in incredibly different ways. I'm talking incredibly different ways. You know, Bochy, Bobby, and Steve Kerr are completely different guys with different personalities and different styles, and all brought teams to a remarkable level of success. Now, Knight did it in a way that was bombastic and controversial and intimidating. Bruce Bochy has just always been as stoic and steady as a human being can be and a baseball manager has ever been. And he wins his 4th World Series last night. So huge, you know, tip of the cap to Bruce Bochy. And then you got Steve Kerr, who is an incredible diplomat, and has more rings and competitive fire that the players get to see, that delivers an amount of instant respect for all of the, I mean, Steve Kerr has been a sponge that has absorbed so much excellence from teammates that he's had, from coaches that he played for. Steve has had one of the most touched by God basketball lives ever lived. And he's absorbed all of it. A fountain of knowledge is what Steve is, along with the experience. And you got 3 guys who have gone about it in 3 totally different ways, but just achieving staggering success, a staggering level of success. And, you know, it's amazing that I've been around all of them, and that not only did I get to know them, but in a weird way, they've gotten to know me. I mean, Bob Knight, probably the least of getting to know me, but I was a student in a class that he taught at IU. It was the coaching of basketball. And it was only available to seniors, and it was only available at like 7:30 a.m., 8 a.m. And if you're a senior who knows what he or she is doing, you're not taking 7, 8 a.m. classes your senior year. That's for freshmen. What are you doing? Your senior year? My senior year, I didn't have any class before 11 a.m., but for the coaching of basketball, which met, I think, twice a week. And Bob Knight had one rule. If you show up late once, you fail. If you wear a hat to class once, you fail. In other words, I want you here on time and I want you showered. Don't think you're walking in here in your underpants and your pajamas and taking a class with Bob Knight with a hat on because you haven't even bothered taking a shower yet. So it was an incredible experience because Bobby would come in and talk about basketball for about, 10, 15 minutes. And then he'd start talking about life and what you were doing in school to prepare for life. He would ask you, what have you done these last 4 years to really get ready for the outside world? Because you're about to enter the ultimate freshman year. The minute you graduate, you are on the lowest rung of the steepest totem pole that you're ever going to see. And what are you going to do today to prepare yourself to climb that ladder when you get there? And there weren't a lot of teachers talking like that at the time. Bobby was just this massive, just lack of bullshit and coddling. That was exactly what people needed. The worst thing you can do to any kid while they're developing who they are is constantly reassuring them how special they are. Now, I don't think you needed to be as overbearing and as intimidating and as chair tossing as Bobby became. And I was there at the end. My 4 years in Bloomington were I was the first 4-year student during Knight's tenure to not at least get a share of a Big Ten regular season title. So I was there at the end of Bob Knight's reign, as he was losing grip on a game that was changing and on kids who were changing. And Bob Knight, if there is a massive flaw that I do not detect in Bruce Bochy, and I have not detected in Steve Kerr, a massive flaw that Bobby had was his inability to evolve. He was who he was, who he was, who he was, and he wasn't trying to be anyone than who he was. He was not adapting to the times. You don't get Duke basketball without Mike Krzyzewski, and you don't get Mike Krzyzewski without Bob Knight. Mike Krzyzewski played for Bob Knight at West Point, and Bob Knight was fired at West Point because he was too hard on the basketball team. Imagine that. Imagine that. You're too hard on a basketball team made of soldiers. That's a whole different level of manhood shit being thrown at you that people couldn't even relate to these days. You don't get Mike Krzyzewski without Bob Knight. And what Mike Krzyzewski was able to do was take all of what Bobby taught him, repackage it in a way that was a bit more digestible to all around. And Krzyzewski was evolving with the times as times were changing. It was a big deal when Duke would take its first one-and-done type of player. I don't know if Knight would have ever done that. I don't think Knight would have ever recruited a kid who told him, yeah, coach, I'm only coming for a year, and I'm going right to the league. I think Bobby would have got up and walked out of the kid's living room every single time. When Isaiah Thomas left the program early to be drafted by the Pistons, go on to have a Hall of Fame career, every player used to get their name when they graduated into the locker that they occupied when they were, on the Hoosiers team. Isaiah Thomas's name was not in any of those lockers. One of the single greatest player who delivered a national championship, Bob wouldn't put his name in the locker because he didn't graduate. That's who Bobby was. That's who he was. And what a glorious asshole you have to be to do that. And he was that. The passing of Bob Knight, it hit me yesterday. It really did. I was on my way to a charity event, but I had to sit down and do a little condolences for Bobby. I see people are worried about my ability to partay come Plus Mania 2. Well, let me just tell you right now that when I am done with today's show, I'm going to CVS to pick up a prescription for an inhaler, which has got some ibuterol. I don't even know what it is, but it's going to open up my lungs and hopefully make this bronchial congestion go away. I still probably am not smoking this weekend. I'm not going to be putting it in the air with you. But of course, we're going to be partying. We're going to be drinking. Pardon me. But I went to the doctor's this morning. He checked me out. He thinks this inhaler is going to clear me right up. So getting better, baby. I won't be coughing all over you at Plus Mania 2. While I was out last night, Bruce Bochy was winning a 4th World Series championship for himself and the first ever for the Texas Rangers. I've been reading a lot of stuff about Bochy, his place in history, what he means to the game of baseball, what the game of baseball has meant to him, and it's been just remarkable stuff. And it's the same thing with Bob Knight. You know, I've been reading all these articles of Bob Knight. There's not a lot in there that I didn't already know, to be honest with you. And look, I don't even want to talk about the championships, the Big Ten titles. You can go look all that up yourself. I wanted to tell you a little bit about the guy that I knew. Bruce Bochy, the guy that I knew, was just one of the coolest, calmest, remaining guys that I've ever met. You'd have Bruce Bochy, again, one of the most poignant moments of me learning how managers think was the Giants had played a real stinker of a home series or just gotten swept and had a terrible game. And I asked Bruce Bochy, don't you want to come in here and flip over the dining room table? Yeah, we got to eat tomorrow night. In other words, no, nothing is going to make me so angry today that I'm going to screw up tomorrow, that I'm going to do anything dramatic. Now, Bob Knight was the most buffet table flipping over son of a bitch there was. Bruce Bochy, the antithesis of that. Steve Kerr is probably setting extra seats at the table to make sure everybody's comfortable. Buster Olney on ESPN today wrote, there are 2 things for which Bruce Bochy will be best remembered in baseball history. The first is that he is among the preeminent managers in baseball history, perhaps the best. His teams in San Francisco and Texas have 4 championships in the past 14 seasons. He generated a 6-0 record in winner-take-all games and posted a stunning 17-4 record in games in which his teams had the opportunity to clinch, as the Rangers did in Game 5. The other is that Bochy has an outsized skull, something that teammates and friends have long teased him about. And apparently, when they're handing out, your championship T-shirts and hats, the only time Bochy got a little frustrated last night is he had to go through like 5 hats before he actually found one that would fit his massive dome. That's the most Bochy thing ever. You've just won a World Series championship. Here's a hat. Doesn't fit. Here's another hat, Bruce. It's bigger. Still doesn't fit. All right, Bochy, here's another hat. Here's a. You got a bigger one. The only other manager in the past 60 years to win as many titles as Bruce Bochy was Joe Torre, and he was at the helm of the Yankees when they won their 4 championships in 5 seasons from 96 to 2000, and a team dotted with future Hall of Famers and iconic players that we now write poems about. And what Bruce Bochy did, and look, he had some great players, there is no doubt, and he has a great player specifically on this Texas team that we'll get to in just a moment. But I wouldn't say it was, a star-studded affair as much as it was an ensemble. Now, Bobby would get his big recruits. He'd get his Brian Evans. He'd get his Isaiah, his Calbert Cheneys. But it was always an ensemble. It was never a star-driven. It was system-driven. It was motion offense-driven. And all of Bruce Bochy's teams and all of Bob Knight's teams either reached the level that they were supposed to get to or they overachieved. There was no underachievement. Bruce Bochy's time in San Francisco petered out without him having good records because those teams were not built to even be decent. If they were decent, he would have had a decent record. But he got left with a bare cupboard at the end there. Some of those names were still familiar with a lot of Giants fans, but their production started petering out. One guy whose name officially joined the ranks of history last night is Corey Seager. Corey Seager punched his ticket to Cooperstown last night with his second World Series MVP and the fact that his regular season numbers have essentially been outstanding. Corey Seager is going to go to the Hall of Fame. His decision to sign a 10-year, $325 million deal with Texas, whichever, a lot of people are like, wow, that's a lot of money for Corey Seager. Like, he's good. Is he that good? Is he 10 years, $325 million good? Yep. Yeah, he is. Corey Seager, look at it this way. That has already paid off for the Texas Rangers, who have won their first World Series ever. What is that worth to the Texas Rangers? It's worth infinity dollars. They're no longer in the group of have never dones. They got a big, shiny, I do believe as the commissioner of baseball referred to it, hunk of metal. God, I hate Manfred. But he's got the hunk of metal that they can put in there. Still don't think it's great ballpark, but it's theirs. And Bruce Bochy was the perfect steady Eddie hand on the wheel to get it all done. Really was. I got to remember to take comments down after I read them. I always forget, this is where I need a producer. We'll get one day. Can't do this all on my own forever, after all. Although I got to share with you, thank you to all of you. October, I just got my monthly YouTube report, which always takes a couple days after the month ends for them to update all of your data and send it to you. October was far and away the most watched month we've had in this channel. And nearly 300,000 people tuned in, which again, for some would be a humble number they wouldn't brag about at the beginning. We're not even, through 7 months of this yet. That's a really good number over here. And thanks to you for being here, clicking like, subscribing, making the algorithm pop. I thank you so very, very much. So, since we're giving cap tips, let's give a little bit of a cap tip here to Corey Seager, just an incredible player who's now going to go to the Hall of Fame. And, a big tip of the cap to the Arizona Diamondbacks. They'll be quickly forgotten. A good trivia question 5 years from now. God, a good trivia question next week compared to, based on how few people watch this World Series. But a trivia, who did the Texas Rangers beat for their first ever World Series? People are going to be like, who did they beat? Who did they play? Who was that? It was the 84 win. No one gave them a shot to make it this far. Arizona Diamondbacks, who absolutely overachieved in the postseason. They weren't supposed to be in the World Series, but there they were. Very impressive. And you got to assume they're very much going to be a factor going forward, right? I mean, come on. If you're the Giants, you have someone else to officially be really worried about. I was thinking about this morning as I was sipping a little coffee, which I'm about to do. And there it is. That feels like a sip of the day right there. But the Rockies, who you can always count on bringing up the rear, are the Giants are more like the Rockies than they are any other team in their division right now. And that's not a good place to be operating from, right? But for the Rockies, who you can always count on being the caboose, without a massive influx of real everyday major league talent, the Giants are poorly equipped, even with Bob Melvin, to really compete next year, if you think about it. Dodgers, Diamondbacks, and Padres are all clearly better than the Giants. Yeah, I'm still including the Padres as better. just from a talent on paper standpoint. It didn't come together, but I'll trade you a lot of the Giants roster for a lot of the Padres roster, right? Pardon me. Again, we're going to take care of this soon. The doctor this morning said, you're okay for talking about 20 minutes, and then all of a sudden it starts to come up. I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, I know that because I've been watching. He watches this. The doctor watches the Plus, which really should be a requirement for my doctor. A lot of love, by the way, coming in. Damon, condolences for Bobby. R.I.P. Bobby Knight. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Pour one out for Bobby. Yeah, I threw one back for Bobby last night. But back to the Giants. Sorry, I got distracted there. Coughing, and then I see the chat, and then I get distracted. Quit looking at the chat, Damon. This offseason, when it comes to the Giants, I don't want to hear about a single name. I want to see introductory press conferences. And honestly, when you got, the son of Charles Johnson up there basically saying, we really want to break even, it sounds like another poorly attended summer of baseball could be coming up. We do have a little jingle jangle. We will stop and pause for the jingle jangle. Saying that Coach Knight gave the state of Indiana an identity and nothing good has happened in or around the state since he was fired. Peyton wasn't enough. Look, I'll tell you, the state on many levels is an unmitigated flaming disgrace of Republican buffoonery. And unfortunately, my complicated relationship with Bobby Knight had to do with the way that, Bobby would just drag Donald's balls across his own nose, and that made me sick. But I think bullies relate to bullies. Again, Bob Knight and I had a very complicated relationship at the end. But, when someone passes away, you remember the good times. And he wasn't a tremendous coach. And the reason why so many good basketball players come out of the state of Indiana is because so many good coaches exist in the state of Indiana. And so many good coaches exist in the state of Indiana because those good coaches worshipped at the altar of Bobby Knight. And if you were a coach, man, Bob would have you in and let you observe practice and take all the notes. He didn't believe in keeping secrets. He believed in making better coaches. There would be dozens of international coaches at Indiana's practices all the time. You would have it all the time. There'd be coaches from Argentina and Venezuela and Spain and France, all there just to watch Bobby coach. How does he do it? How does he set up his practice? How does he set up his floor? Why is he putting tapes all here? He's breaking down the court into quadrants, and a player's got to enter a quadrant, and then a player vacates the quadrant, and it's just the motion offense, and it never stops, and ball movement is the key. And a lot of these things that Steve Kerr, because Steve didn't like the man that Bobby was, will never admit that he's taken from Bob Knight. If you're running motion offense, you're running Bob Knight's offense, and believe me, the Warriors are very much at their best a motion offense. This is not ISO, stand around, you dribble drive basketball. Steve is so hesitant to get out of his motion offense that they don't run enough pick and roll, which also really works well in the NBA. I always thought when the Warriors were at their best, it was when they were between picking their moments of picking and rolling or going back to the motion. We'll get to Klay's shot in just a minute. I know that made an awful lot of people very happy. Never daunted. Again, thanks for the jingle jangle, never daunted. Coach Knight also had a fly fishing class. It was the most coveted class at IU. See, here's the thing. I was never much of a fisherman. I didn't really care about Bobby's fly fishing. I'm guessing if he had a grouse hunting class, that would have been way up there too. He loved hunting birds, pheasants. He loved that. I cannot wait till I get my inhaler. My inhaler. I got the asthma. And then there were 5. Only 5 teams in Major League Baseball have not won a World Series thanks to the Texas Rangers finally getting off that list last night. It's the Seattle Mariners, the Milwaukee Brewers, the San Diego Padres, the Colorado Rockies, and the Tampa Bay Rays. Those are the 5 who have not won it all. Who will be next? I would say either, because I feel like the Padres are going to regress without Bob Melvin. Like, that's going to break up. That's going to get worse before it gets better, right? I would say that the Mariners or Brewers would be next in line. And the Tampa Bay Rays, again, if you're not going to ever spend, if you're just going to be gimmicky, I think you are going to be in a little bit of trouble. Kim Schaefer. Hey, Kim. Bochy and Kerr are the mother effing men. The Bay Area is so lucky to have had them both. Big congrats to Boch on his 4th ring. I mean, that's the way everyone around here feels. It's the way everyone around here feels. True blue forever. Bob Knight was the Archie Bunker of college basketball. You know, I've never heard that before, but you're so right. You're so right. That's really good. Oh my, why Bochy might be the greatest manager ever. Ike, well, you know, look at it this way. The greatest manager of a baseball team ever, the greatest manager of a sandwich shop ever is my man Ike. Like, forget about Wendy's. Forget about Ronald McDonald or the Burger King himself. Like, those aren't great managers. Those are fictional characters. You want a real character in your life? You want a real human being as a manager? This guy, Mr. Ike, right here. Go get yourself an Ike sandwich today. Go get yourself a delicious sandwich made at a guy who takes care of his employees, at a guy who keeps opening stores, putting people to work. My man Ike is the real McCoy. Go ahead and give him your patronage, and you're going to find out why you're going to want to go back there tomorrow for lunch. His sandwiches are absolutely delicious. Delicious. Ike, good friend, great guy, great manager. 16th anniversary they're celebrating. Here's to at least 16 more. My man's going to be bigger than Subway when it's all said and done. It's so good to see him thrive and just have success everywhere he goes. Speaking of success everywhere he goes, Stefan is having a ridiculous amount of success every single time he goes to the betting window. Winners, 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 winners. It's all he finds. He does it on a baseball field. He does it in a hockey rink. He does it on a basketball court, and he does it on a football field. And if you would like a free day of handicapping, sign up with promo code Bruce. And we're coming up on a week where, you know, there's no Niners game. How are you going to get involved? You want a little bit more skin in the game? Maybe make a wager or two and get your free day of handicapping this Saturday or this Sunday by using promo code Bruce at bottomlinebets.com. The promo code is Bruce, B-R-U-C-E, bottomlinebets.com. It's not going to be offered much longer. This might be the last weekend that's even being offered, period. So use it or lose it, kids. Bottomlinebets.com. Stefan's on fire. It's time you become En Fuego yourself. Daily, weekly, monthly subscriptions available at bottomlinebets.com. I want to talk about how there are very few actions in sports that make the Bay Area happier than Klay Thompson hitting a game-winning shot. So I am at a guardsman dinner last night, senior dinner, bunch of the older guys in the group. How can we still help the group out? Talking about Tree Lot, which is the big time of the year for the guardsmen. We're going to be doing shows from the Tree Lot this year. Really looking forward to that. Hopefully you plan on coming on down, maybe even picking up your Christmas tree at the guardsman Tree Lot. It's one of my favorite times of the year. I love the guardsmen. I love the Tree Lot, and I can't wait to get back down there. It puts a smile on my face, man. So I'm at that dinner, which of course turns into cocktails, which of course turns into a whole bunch of guys standing up and telling filthy jokes. And it was a good time. It was a really good time last night. By the time I got home, I turned on the game. Klay Thompson hits a game-winning shot. That's all I caught. And it was good night, everybody. Seriously, I caught the very tail end of the game. I saw the game winner go down. Sure made me happy. Nothing makes the Bay Area happier than a game-winning shot from Klay Thompson. And oh, by the way, that's 4 wins in a row for the Golden State Warriors, who come home for one game and now they're out for another 4-game road trip. So it'll be a while before we see them again. T from the 203. Damon, do you have any of your old notes from the Bobby Knight class you took at IU? I have the whole notebook. Yes, I do. And as a matter of fact, when I told Chris Mullen about it one day, he's like, can I borrow that? And I gave Chris Mullen the notebook that he took home. He read it and he brought it home. He's like, man, that walked me down memory lane in his Queens accent. And that's seriously like the fringe benefit of my career. What is the value of your career that isn't represented in money but means a lot to you? It's the fact that a guy like Chris Mullen knows who I am. I walk into a room and Chris Mullen says, "Hey, Damon." Like, I love that. That means a lot to me. The fact that I walk in a room and Steve Kerr, who I've gotten so many conversations with, he knows me. We say hello to each other. We greet each other as friends. Bruce Bochy, it's the same thing. I don't know if I'll ever be rich doing this, but man, I've had some rich experiences that the wealthiest people I know would love to have. Real relationships with people who are great at what they do, who've inspired an entire city, who have run winning operations. I mean, I get off on that. I really, really do. And, I do have a Bob Knight story from the coaching of basketball class, because as a student who was all around the basketball team, as a student broadcaster, as someone who would cover them, I went to a lot of Bob Knight press conferences. Now, Bob Knight ruled his kingdom with an iron fist. He knew everybody. If you didn't know your name, he knew your face. And if he knew your face and he was around him for long enough, he would learn your name. Bobby knew what was going on. He controlled his entire kingdom. And so, I'd been around the basketball team for years. Like I said, you could only take the coaching of basketball with Bob Knight during your senior year. So finally, after being in front of Bobby for several seasons, now I'm in his class. It's the first day of class. And I am actually running a little bit late because I get to Assembly Hall and I go down the wrong staircase. So I'm on the wrong side of Assembly Hall because the coaching of basketball was taught in the press room. So I'm on the wrong side of Assembly Hall, but I'd been to Assembly Hall so many times, I didn't think, well, what I need to do is go upstairs and run around and go back downstairs. What I'm going to do is open up the door that says, "Do not open this door," and just run across the court, because I'd been in the gym so many times. I knew that court well. I knew the building well, but I'd made a mistake. I went down the wrong side. So I'm on the wrong side of the court, and I can either run all the way back up and around Assembly Hall and all the way back down, or I can just run across the court. So I run across the court, and as I open the door, I can see already out of his office, there's Bob Knight and Norm Ellenberger, Knight's assistant at the time, walking to the class. And so, like, I saunter up next to him. I put my hand out. I said, Coach, Damon Bruce, I'm in your class this year. He's like, I've seen you around. I said, yes, Coach, I'm a student broadcaster. I've done many of your games. I've been at press conferences. I've asked you questions. And he's like, well, that's great. I'm glad you're in the class this year. You better fucking get there before I do. I took off running. And I did get there before he did. But that was Bob. Like, hey, I acknowledge you. I see you. You're already close to breaking my first rule, so you better fucking get to class. It's like one of my favorite interactions with Bob Knight ever. At the end of the coaching a basketball class, I got the guts to ask him. I was like, hey, not all of us can do what we want to do forever. Bob, will you have any say in your replacement here one day at Indiana? Because, the firing of Bob Knight was still, no one could even think that would ever happen, which did. But I asked him that question. He says, who the hell do you think you are, Bob Costas? Yeah, it left a big impression on me. And I'll tell you, it's one of the reasons why I was about as comfortable around any media or any person I've ever had to cover ever. Like, again, oh my God, Damon, you better be careful around Barry Bonds in the clubhouse because Barry Bonds can be a little surly. Oh, Barry Bonds can be a little surly? Get the hell out of here. Barry Bonds is a ray of sunshine compared to what I went through in college. Barry Bonds intimidating. Fuck you, Barry Bonds. I went to the school of Bob Knight. You don't even know what intimidating is. The amount of intimidated by Barry Bonds I was this, thanks to Robert Montgomery Knight. So I had a pretty good education. That Bobby was a big part of. So again, let it be said, let it be known, I have had the pleasure to really be around greatness in my career. Happenstance, luck, I don't know, can't explain it. But some iconic figures are the figures that I've been and had the privilege to cover while being here in the Bay Area. Something that I don't think is going to go down as iconic in the Bay Area are the new City jerseys. Did you see that the Warriors are rolling out these new City Connect jerseys for this year? If you haven't seen them, here it is. This is the City Connect jersey for this upcoming basketball season. Now, as you can see, there's an awful lot about the jersey that looks okay. Like, I like you want to rock a black jersey. I get it. All right, you got one. The gold piping looks good. The piping at the waistline looks good. The font looks fine. The shadow drop on the numbers, okay, no problem with any of that. What is the one thing about this jersey that looks funny? Oh, maybe it's the, if I can quote the ad, shape inspired by the iconic San Francisco Hills, which as a theory, like as you're talking about, now the word mark font is inspired by the cable car route signs. Again, the font is cool. The shadow drop on the numbers is cool. I'm fine with all of that. Do you see the swoop Warriors down in that right-hand corner? They should have had the numbers and that swooping Warriors under the number more than that, as it says right here, shape inspired by the iconic San Francisco Hills. It looks like the person who sewed that jersey together sneezed as they were sewing the San Francisco over it. Hey, let's make San Francisco kind of come out like the San Francisco Hills. It's one of those, hey, good idea, let's see how it looks. And then they should have actually done a mock-up and said, yeah, it looks a little funny. We should probably, even though it was a good idea, the execution of the good idea isn't quite what we hoped it would be. And it looks like, we might have had someone suffer an epileptic seizure as they were selling the word San Francisco on that, more than it looks like the rolling San Francisco hills. It looks like maybe someone sneezed. It looks like maybe, the entire machine glitched. Again, I get why you did it, but after you did it and you actually looked at it, shouldn't someone say, no? Having said all that, looking at all the City Connect jerseys, God, Nike's bad at this. How can Nike be so bad at this? How could they be so bad at? I don't get it. How are you this bad at making cool basketball jerseys when you're Nike? How? Anyways, I'm sure someone on the chat is already writing, well, Damon, they're not making these for you. They're making these for the next generation. Well, unless the next generation deals with, wavy line intake in a way that I don't, does that look good to anybody? Doesn't that look off? That looks like something that goes into the odd lots bin. Like, hey, we made 100,000 of these. 1,000 of them came out wrong. What are we gonna do? Give them to Goodwill? Yeah, give them to odd lots. See if you can sell these things for 75% off. There's a little bit of a mistake. I wore a lot of odd lot clothes when I was a kid growing up. It's like, here we are. These are button fly jeans. The bottom button of the fly is missing, means these jeans are 40% off. Those are the jeans I would wear. The bargain bin. So, there's a lot going on, obviously, with the 49ers, but they're not playing this weekend. And I don't know what Chase Young is going to really represent, if he is going to be neutralized by the trend of football that has just neutralized defensive lines all over the league. He doesn't play corner. I like the trade considering the value. I wish he played cornerback. That's what I thought the 49ers needed, but maybe he's a real game changer. I was, like I said, going to drop the kids off early this morning, got to the doctor's office, had the checkup, was in the car, driving home, some guys calling in. It's the first time I'd put on sports talk radio in a while, actually. We always usually have a little music on for the kids in the morning. But someone's like, yeah, let me tell you right now, the 49ers are not winning the Super Bowl this year. It doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter what you think. You don't know that. You don't know that. No more than you knew that the 49ers were definitely going to win the Super Bowl when they started off at 5-0. There's so much of this season to be played. We're at the halfway point. No one knows anything yet. Well, I know for a fact that the Philadelphia Eagles are going to the Super Bowl. Not if Jalen Hurts tears an ACL, they're not. And that can happen between now and the end of the year. So don't think that everything that you now believe is the truth will be true 10 weeks from now. There's so much football still left. And how you, the fan, feels about anything doesn't matter a lick to the NFL. Doesn't matter at all. Everyone's got to get out of their feelings. Oh, I know it. I know it. The 49ers aren't going to win the Super Bowl this year. You don't know anything. They might still very much do that. There's nothing that has already happened that guarantees they can't win a Super Bowl. Now, there are 3 signs in a row that didn't look very good, that don't look like to be pointing directly, go to the front of the Super Bowl line. But calm down. There's an awful lot of football still coming. So everyone, take a deep breath. I can't take a deep, if I take a really deep breath, I'll start coughing right now. So I can't take a deep breath with you, but take a deep breath. breathe out your third eyelid, just calm down. There's a lot of football left to be played. Here's how it all works. Let's say they come out and they have a rousing win out of the bye week against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Everybody's going to be right back on the gravy train. And if they lose that game, it will be the biggest doom and gloom week that we've had in a long time in Bay Area sports. Calm down, everybody. Calm down. You ready to get into a little Club Plus? I'm ready to hop into a little Club Plus. Let's see what everyone's talking about today. I got to bring it back up. I had to put it down there for a minute because I get distracted. Hopefully I didn't miss any super chats. We already caught a couple today. But let's jump right back in. Want to thank everyone listening to the podcast. Again, I had the most viewed month in the history of my existence here on YouTube, the most downloaded month in the short existence of the Damon Bruce Plus podcast. And thank you so very much for making that happen. Thanks for making me a part of your commute or wherever you're listening to this podcast. I really, truly appreciate you an awful lot. Thank you so much. Sports don't build character. They reveal it. And like that, he's gone. Why do I lose the plug every day? Seriously, where did this thing go? There it is. Too many chords on the table. I need a cleanup. In aisle 6. Oh, Disco Face is back. All right. What do we got? Squirrel. Exactly. Yeah, see, this is what happens when I get distracted. Text line, I love you, but you're not good for the flow of the show. You're really not. I try to incorporate you in, but I basically have to, I just should shut you all down until I get into Club Plus because I get distracted. So what do we got going on here? Irwin says, greatness comes in all form, just like geniuses. And when it comes to, personalities that work, I'm going to say that Bobby's personality would no longer work in sports. Every single coach going forward is going to be an awful lot more like Steve Kerr than like Bob Knight. Because Bob Knight comes from a time in a world that no longer exists where you could yell at a kid and not get sued. Your feelings in being regarded as special at all times were not the priority for Bob. And the truth is, as good as he was, as bombastic as he was, would he have been even a little bit better if he'd just dialed a little of that back? Maybe so. Maybe not. I don't know. But he was true to himself. And when people weren't looking, it's really weird. It's like he saved his best behavior for private, and in public, he was sometimes his most boorish. Bob Knight invented zero fucks given before it was even cool. He really did. Ted Sanchez says, Damon, I'm going to throw my folding chair at home in honor of Coach. Well, thank you. You should do that. I used to throw chairs around I broke more chairs at KNBR than anyone. I would go through about a chair a month because I used to throw chairs. I was fresh out of school, still had Bobby on my mind. I've thrown chairs around office. I'm a chair thrower myself. For Life 49er. What up, DB? What up, For Life? Thank you for being in here. I appreciate it. E. Scott Burns says, my mom was an IU grad and absolutely loved Coach Knight. Gospel at our house. Let me tell you, that's why dude, in Indiana, between the 70s and 80s and into the early 90s, you didn't find an awful lot of total pussies walking around the state of Indiana. You didn't. Because you knew that didn't fly. There's a saying, and I know this is a saying now, it's very offensive because, that doesn't include, transgender parents who don't even have gender identities. So you can't say it takes a man to raise a man anymore. I'm going to tell you right now, in a lot of cases, except for a very few special circumstances, it takes a man to raise a man. There are times where I see my wife coddling my kid when he falls down, and I tell her, Jillian, let him pick himself up before you run over to help him up. Like, just let it happen. Knees get skinned. It's okay. It's okay. We don't have to treat a skinned knee like a medical emergency. Her maternal instincts kick in, and she just wants to protect the kids. My paternal instincts say, let him find out by injuring himself that it's time to be less clumsy. Like, that's a good thing, too. I told you the other day, Ozzy, for the very first time, burnt his hand on the stove. Guess who's never going to touch the stove again? Sometimes you got to learn some hard lessons. Shout out Anna Colorado Rockies. I love Anna Kakaragis. I wonder what she's up to these days. One of the nicest people I've ever met in radio. Speaking of the old show, by the way, I want you to know that in a couple of weeks, because they can't make it all to Club Plus, but we did start texting with each other. And then Elena started, Bouton Vixen, Elena started sending some Halloween pictures and memories and videos that were taken years ago to me, Gianna, and Albie. Gianna, Albie, Elena, and I are going to be getting together for dinner soon. We're getting a whole damn band back together for a night of just great to see you. It's been too long. I miss those folks. I really do. Great people. My brother passed away from asthma. Don't play around. Again, I have an inhaler. I don't have asthma. It's just this is going to deliver a little something to help get whatever spilkus in my bronchi to be less Denver Bronco and more natural bronchi. Rest in peace indeed to your brother, man. But yeah, I didn't know any other way to describe what an inhaler was other than the asthma thing, because I know asthma uses the inhaler. It's funny, the doctor, he was like, have you ever used an inhaler before? I said, actually, no, I haven't. I've helped my kids, like Jack had to have an inhaler because he came home with a little bronchial infection when he was like 3 years old once. So he had an inhaler. So I've used that with the kids. I've seen it used an awful lot. He's like, so when you squeeze it into your mouth, don't just let the liquid in your mouth. You got to like suck it in. I'm like, yeah, dude, I smoke weed. I know how to inhale. I got this. Kim, being the true broadcaster she was. Damon, nice segue into the commercial. Masterfully played. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. So that we were a little bit behind. Let's catch up here. Oh, I like seeing this. Shush. We had my company event yesterday and ordered Ike from Del Mar in San Diego. Got pics and everything. My company loved it. Yeah. Shush. Would you send that out? Would you please push that out? If you got pics, send it to me on social media. Use Twitter and send it to me. And that way I can push it on out and say, look at what Ike's can do for your company. I'd love that. Please share that. Had the Howie Mandel tuna sandwich. E. Scott Burns. Always awesome from Ike's. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander out tomorrow against the Warriors. Hey, that's good for the Warriors. Bad for the integrity of that game. I would have rather had him in. But there you go. There's a little breaking news from Drew Down. That's too bad. I don't get to watch much Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. I would have liked to have seen him. Rick Mighty Bone Feliciano says, look, Damon, Bochy's done. We don't need him. The Giants said that, and how stupid do they look? Look, I know that Brian Sabian said that he didn't leave under his own devices, and he said that with Kruger. And I think there is an element of truth to that. The other element of truth to that is I also think that Bochy was a little burnt out at the end, and he knew that a new regime, might want to make their hire, and he just knew it was time to walk away. Smart coaches know when it's time to walk away. That's what Bobby held on for a little too long at Indiana, probably. I hope Steve Kerr, who I think is married, look at it this way. I think Steve Kerr and Steph Curry go out together. But you can stay in one place too long, and I think that Boch realized that it was a time for change. A little break is exactly what he needed. He was away from the game for multiple years. He went fishing. He went marlin fishing down in the Gulf of Mexico for like 2-3 years there, and he came back to a loaded team that needed his hand to guide it, and look at what he did. Guy's just awesome. But look, I don't think, how about this? Saying goodbye to Bochy when they did is easier to explain than the hiring of Gabe Kapler under the umbrella of that hire. I don't think Bruce Bochy is angry at the Giants. I don't think the Giants are embarrassed that it, because again, at the end, those teams weren't winning. It was walk-away time. But, I mean, had the right team been maintained, had you given Bochy a winning hand, look at what he does every single time you deal that guy a winning hand. He got dealt, pocket 2-3 offset at the very end there with the Giants. Not that he ever was really dealt pocket aces, but he was dealt good cards, and he turned his good cards into World Series cards. When he had bad cards, I don't know anyone who would have done well with those teams. But if you give Bruce Bochy a team that's good, he will bring them as far as they can go all the time. How about a 49ers wake-up sando? Would it be a breakfast sandwich? I don't think Ike's is open early enough to serve a breakfast sandwich, but I am also the type of guy who, even though I don't go to McDonald's anymore due to El Stroco Loco, if I were still a McDonald's customer, I think I would order an Egg McMuffin in the afternoon before I would order a hamburger. Like I'll do breakfast for lunch. Could the 49ers wake up sandwich? How about this? And a sandwich with an acai bowl on it? I don't think he could pull. I don't even think I could pull that off. I don't think you'd want to pull that off. But a 49er wake up sando? That'd be pretty cool. I mean, some egg, cheese, and bacon. That sounds good to me 24 hours a day. All right, so what is going on? Bobby Knight. I love that, Damon. You better get to class before I do. It happened. It happened. Great story. Thank you. I'm glad. Yeah, I thought I wanted to share that one with you today. There was our formative years for me. E. Scott Burns says, those Warrior jerseys have no pop, but the word layout is horrible. Worse than throwing up San Fran or Frisco. Again, it's it looks like the font doesn't even fit the design that they're trying to pull off. Here, I'll put it back up for a second as we're talking about it and what's wrong with it. Like shouldn't the letters in San Francisco be a little smaller so it doesn't look as jammed and jumbled together as it does? I think it would play better if you move the 46, the jersey number, up and put the rolling San Francisco under it. The rolling San Francisco might have looked better under the actual numbers of the jersey, because to have the S start at the bottom of the armpit of that jersey hole, the sleeve hole, and to have the O finish in the middle, it makes it look even more off-kiltered and cramped than it should. Again, I get what they wanted to do. I wish they would have come up with a few different mock-ups of how to pull that off. It seems like, hey, we got an idea to have San Francisco look like a rolling hill. They're like, yeah, okay, go with that. Well, should we try it like a few different ways to see which one works best? Nah, just go with it. Again, the font's not bad. The colors aren't bad. I get why the Warriors don't want to sell another, blue or white or yellow jersey. They've already got enough of those. They want to keep the black in there. It's every team's got a version of that. I just think that we have way too many of these jerseys at all times. Like, less is more in the rotating, like a different jersey for every day of the week. It doesn't help brand identity. Now, it helps amount of shit to sell, of course, but it doesn't really help brand identity. This is, and again, looks like the product approval meeting got cut short due to budgetary concerns. Irwin, yeah, it really does. Again, they had a decent idea, and then they just didn't nail the idea. It was a better idea. And then look, there's a lot of things that look better on paper than in actual reality. Kind of like the San Francisco Giants lineup. Hey-oh. But, no, I'm just kidding. That didn't even look good on paper. But look, I get what they were trying to do. They wish they would have taken a few more swings at it. Oh, look, G. Martinez here says someone didn't plan accordingly spacing-wise. You see the same thing I do, right? And he says didn't. I don't mean did. I mean didn't. G. Martinez, you and I think exactly alike. I get it, but it just looks cramped. Looks like they tried to jam a bad idea into an even worse space. Hey, Damon, at least you don't have a jersey that says Heat Culture on it. To me, it looks like a summer basketball jersey camp that you'd pay $120 to get. T from the 203. Yeah, I saw those. And that's the thing. Like, Miami had really crushed a few of their alternate jerseys, right? Like those Miami Vice jerseys. Like, I didn't like the double-sided, like, this is pink, this is purple, like that. I didn't like that. But the Miami Vice jersey was pretty cool. They didn't nail that. JJ Rader says, the font reminds me of the John Mulvaney joke about writing happy birthday on a poster. Yeah, you start with a big H-A-P-P-Y, and the happy always looks good. And then you got a jam birthday in there. I don't even know the bit that you're talking about, but I'm sure that that's it. Because everyone has screwed that up as a kid. Everyone has made that happy birthday card where it's really like, it's not your mom or dad helping you make grandma, grandpa, or whoever a happy birthday card. Like, you're making it as a kid, and you nail that happy, and then you have to compress that birthday, and you didn't plan on it. Smiley Dan, that wavy line font looks like something you'd buy in a parking lot and then you don't realize it until later. I can't wait to meet you at Plus Mania 2, Wavy Dan. I think you and I have probably been in the same Fish parking lots, same Grateful Dead parking lots a few times in our lives and just didn't even know it. Sporticus. Nike jerseys. Just don't do it. That's perfect. The Raw Special. The Raw Special. Damon, did you ever interview Bob Knight? Well, here's the thing. There's no way that they would have played it yesterday because my name will not be speaked on the station again because I'm the single blighted. I am a point of... I'm an embarrassment for 95.7 The Game. Every time they bring me up, they're announcing we can't afford the best talent we've ever had anymore. So they don't talk about me anymore. I'm not even referenced. Like I was never there. They can't bring me up. They're also afraid that the more attention that they give to me, any attention that they give to me will be less attention for them because people come over. Again, their numbers go down when I'm on the air. Why? Because their audience leaves them to come over here. So they don't want to call any more attention to me. But had I still been at the station, I could have told you that yesterday we would have replayed the Bob Knight interview that they surprised me with on my birthday one year. And I was actually very happy to do that Bob Knight interview, but that was at the apex of my complication with Bob Knight. And I wish that they had told me about it. They wanted to surprise me with it. And I was like, dude, that's way too big of an interview for me to just drop on me. You got to give me some time to prepare for that one. And it was a little weird because Bobby was at the, shaking, crackling, I'm getting older and sicker point of the voice of his life. And I don't know. People tell me it played better than I thought it went. But had I still been at the station, you would have been able to hear it. But that station is so afraid of the ghost that is Damon Bruce, they dare not say my name. Dave Ryder says, I can barely recognize Oregon football now. Their identity with green and yellow is slowly diminishing. But I'll say this about Oregon. Oregon's tradition is we are devoid of tradition. We're going with a new cool jersey all the time. We got something, how many games we got? We got 13, 14 games. We got 13, 14 jerseys for you. It's, I used to think that was a flaw in Oregon. And then I was like, oh, no, wait a minute. Like, that is Oregon. Something new all the time. Keep it hot. Keep it fresh. Everyone's curious. Everyone wants to at least tune in to see what Oregon's wearing this week. I get why you might be frustrated if you really like that green and yellow, but at the same time, it's pretty cool. I think Oregon is the one school that has gotten that right. All right, what do we got? Oh, look at it this way. Sporticus says, my mom used to buy us tough skin jeans at Sears. They had a replacement guarantee if the knees wore through. Us boys, we took it out as a challenge. And here's the thing, your mom didn't tell you to stop that because if she'd get a free pair of jeans for the jeans that you actually ride through, she's like, yeah, it's a win for her too. Again, if we're not talking about the Niners very much, they made a trade. We'll see how it works out, but it's our bye week too. All you should do about the Niners is smoke weed about them. Okay, old dirty hungus. Tally, he's ready to tear it up for Club Plus. Plus Mania 2 Electric Boogaloo, November 5th, Sunday at Victory Hall. Hope to see you there. Hey Behabes, Michelle Haberman. We shopped at the bargain bin at Mervin's and consignment stores. I don't understand why all parents don't do that. Kids grow like beanstalks. What are you going to go get your kid a brand name, brand new anything? Like, thank God that we have a second child who is the same sex as the first child because the hand-me-down train is never going to stop. Just what was Jack's? I told my wife, I was like, you go ahead, you get Jack some quality stuff because eventually that's going to be Ozzy's quality stuff. Don't you ever spend a dime on Ozzy is basically what that comes with as well. Ozzy gets nothing new. Sorry, kid. It's the burden of being second. You know what I'll do? I'll take you to Disneyland one day by yourself. Just you, Daddy and Ozzy at Disney. Jack, sorry, but you got every single T-shirt and pair of jeans first. This kid, he gets a day at the Magic Kingdom. He's earned it. Steve P says, man, that whole time with Bob Knight, that's where you got the sauce? Look at it this way. That's where I found out what sports intimidating really was. And all these posers who tried to ever be intimidating around me beyond that. And that's the thing, like Barry Bonds. Again, there's a difference between genuinely intimidating the room and just being a dick. Barry Bonds, that guy was just being a dick. Bob Knight always gave you that feeling like you might get a chair thrown at you. Again, Bob Knight didn't try to be intimidating. He just was. Barry tried to be intimidating, and then a whole group of Bay Area sports reporters would cower in front of him and, oh, Barry. Didn't Knight throw a chair at a player? No, he actually threw it at an official. He just threw it towards a player as they were standing on the free throw line, but he really wanted to hit the ref. I was doing play-by-play of a game that Bob Knight got ejected from by Ted Valentine, and Bobby gets ejected, and instead of walking to the tunnel, going back to the Indiana locker room, he started walking that way. Then he turned around and came right towards Ted Valentine. And I'm on the air. I'm doing play-by-play. And I'm with Tom Ackerman, my good friend who went to IU. And I'm like, Tom, Bob Knight's about to hit Ted Valentine. And he didn't. But he tried to. He buzzed the tower. He buzzed Teddy TV's tower. It was awesome. Damon, professional chair tosser. That does work on the radio side. Yeah, you could hear that chair rumbling around the studio when I would toss it. Can we get chair tossing into the Olympics in honor of Bobby Knight? T from the 203. It should happen. It should happen. I still love throwing a good chair. See, Chef A knows about tough love. Chef A is from a generation that didn't just crank out people all up in their feelings at all times. You burn, you learn. Sorry, Ozzy, but it's true. Again, touch a hot stove once. You will not do it twice. San Bruno Mike, Bouton Vixen's voice, if you know, you know. Elena, to this day, when she was my board op, has the best radio voice I ever worked with. Thank God that she got out from behind the board and turned into a DJ. Her voice is incredible. Absolutely. Her voice is like Kathleen Turner doing Jessica Rabbit. I mean, just oozing with caramel femininity. It's just, her voice is best described as luscious. She has a luscious voice. And I would tell her that. I'd be like, why are you behind a board? How are you not on the air? We got to get you on the air more. We got an Ike's in San Diego. Spunky072. By the way, she's a Hoosier. I know her. Lots of Fish shows, Grateful Dead shows for her as well. No, maybe not Grateful Dead shows, but Fish shows, yes. Man, oh man. Lots of good stuff. San Bruno Mike is right. Breakfast is good any time of the day. I'm a big breakfast for dinner guy. My kids get excited. What's for dinner? Pancakes. Yeah. Yeah. Jack's starting to like bacon and sausage too. We got to watch that bacon and sausage intake. Eggs are great at all hours of the day. Absolutely. Old Dirty Hungus, the sandwich gods might go smiting if you put acai into the mix. Just saying. Exactly. You don't want to mess with the sandwich gods. The fact that Ike is a sandwich god unto himself, though, maybe balances that out. Khalil King, we're going to need a subscription from you if you don't already have one, because we're on the same wavelength. Whoever made that Warriors jersey did it off and ate the shrooms. Yeah, caps and stems seem to be involved. I'll tell you that. The black jerseys the Warriors rocked from 2021, 2022 were actually clean. I didn't like the flower one, if that's what you mean. I actually thought the best version of any Warrior black alternate jersey was the Chinese New Year jerseys that they had. Those should have been a permanent part of the rotation. I thought those jerseys looked awesome. They had a touch of red in it. It looked really good. I thought they nailed those. And again, like, if you are the Golden State Warriors and you want to honor the Warriors with or you want to honor the city of San Francisco with a nod to the rolling hills, well, you already have that. You have the cable car jerseys on the back with the number in the cable. Like, you have the single greatest jersey of all time, the Bridge and the City jersey, and just use that. Like, quit trying to reinvent the wheel. The Warriors quite literally have in their discontinued, hardly use it, vast resources of jerseys, it's sitting there is like the lost ark of great jerseys. You had the City jersey is maybe the greatest basketball jersey ever outside of what? You know, I'm a little biased, but that Indiana home jersey is as clean as fuck. It was gorgeous. But like Harlem Globetrotter jerseys, you know, Celtics green road jerseys, those are perfect. Look, Lakers jerseys, they're perfect. They're awesome. Not the white ones, but the purple and the gold. Those are perfect. The Warriors might have the single cleanest, most perfect jersey to ever offer, and they hardly offer it. Got SG Sports Talk saying, Damon, I sent you a message on Twitter. Well, I will open it up and take a look. Is Kruger still an Odyssey employee? Here's the thing. He never was, which is why he didn't get laid off. He is a part-timer, a fill-in guy, and so they still ask him to fill in. It's funny when Larry and he's like, dude, I'm filling in for your show and the show that you used to have. Don't be mad at me. I'm like, Larry, I'm not mad at you. You had nothing to do with me not being there. Nothing. Go ahead. Go take the, I'm sure, not good paycheck that they're offering you. All right. Michael Miko? I'm going with Michael Miko. Bochy won it all again, and I'm thrilled for him. Thanks a lot, Giants front office, for allowing this to happen. I dig Bob Melvin hire as a fan for morale, but it's time to put up or shut up this offseason. Here's the thing. I don't want to hear a word. I just want to see introductory press conferences. That's it. I don't want, well, they're really in on player XYZ. I don't want to hear it. Introductory press conference or keep your mouth shut. Kim, I always laugh at the toddlers wearing Patagonia. Exactly. Look, like what I think is ridiculous is when you see like a little kid rocking Jordans. Like, what are you doing? Spending $100 on a pair of sneakers that he's going to grow out of in 9 weeks. What are you doing? Buy gym shorts for the boys. They last the longest. Absolutely. Where's the Duchess? Well, the Duchess will not be at Plus Mania 2, but the Duchess is coming back in like mid-December, and she's going to roll with us through New Year's and spend a couple weeks here, and the boys are very excited about Grandma coming back into town. And so am I. I'm a mama's boy, I'll admit it. Not to mention my mom is cool as fuck. Can't say that about an awful lot of moms. How would you best describe your mom in her 70s? Yeah, she's cool as fuck. Michelle. I love Elena's voice too. I love listening to her on the radio in the afternoon. Again, caramel. Sporticus, I'm not a big fan of animation, but Jessica Rabbit was confusingly hot. There's nothing confusing about it. She was balls out flaming hot. That's the hottest animated cartoon character of all time, bar none. I would absolutely sport Jessica Rabbit. As a single guy, I would have gone out in the marina with Jessica Rabbit. Absolutely. I would have sported Jessica Rabbit anywhere. Half my friends would have been like, damn, who is she? I'd be like, Jessica Rabbit. Yeah, no, there's one cartoon character you're allowed to have heterosexual thoughts about, and it's Jessica Rabbit. And for you girls whose door does not swing in the direction of heterosexuality, I guarantee you there's an awful lot of lesbians who are thinking, Jessica Rabbit, hot supper. Absolutely. Jessica Rabbit was the walking definition of hotness. Let's be honest. That's not Bugs Bunny in a dress. That's Jessica Rabbit. It's like when I think of the most like libido-forming, hottest chicks from my childhood, it was the Kathy Ireland, She Reigns in Spain Sports Illustrated swimsuit cover. Linda Carter is Wonder Woman. And Jessica Rabbit. I think that's the three right there. A couple of Bond ladies also thrown in. Couple of Bond ladies. Bond girls, as they were known. Postman in Capitola. Oy! Damon, when are you getting Ackerman on the Plus? I do got to get Tommy on. I should have him on and talk about Bob Knight. I do. I got to get more people on. Here's the thing. This is where you can tell, like, Damon, you need a producer. I like broadcasting by myself so much that I constantly forget to even think about booking the guests that would be perfect for that. I'm like, oh, good. I just want to talk about that. I'm just gonna go on a tangent and just go off. Look, I really liked working with Ray. I liked working with Kolsky. I never ever wanted co-hosts. I like working with Larry. Larry and I have a great team. I think we bring out the best in each other. But there's a reason why Larry and I don't work together every day. It's because I like working alone. I really do. Time flies when I just start working alone. Like, oh my God, we're an hour and almost 25 minutes into today's show, and I got to go ahead and get my inhaler. Damon, thank you very much for reading my comments. And it's Michio. All right, Michael Michio. Thank you so much, Michael. Again, we aim to get our we aim to get our pronunciations correct. I could listen to Elena de Bouton-Vixen read the phone book. Irwin, Jessica Rabbit equals Jane Mansfield. Speaking of which, you know how Jane Mansfield died? She drove her car into the back of a semi-truck. That's why there is now a bar underneath every single semi-truck, so you can't drive in and get beheaded almost. And that's called a Mansfield bar. Did you know that? There you go. There's your useless but useful, totally random observation of the day. Charlene Crosley. Jessica Rabbit made us heterosexual girls wonder. Straight up, right? I mean, that's a thing. Jessica Rabbit was universally sexy. Bamboo. Yeah. I had a major crush on J Rabbit, as everyone knows her. True Blue. I had Kathy Ireland posters. Yeah. Hell yeah. Daisy Duke. Indeed. She was on that libido forming. Daisy Duke was up there. And you know who we also have to give a little credit to is Suzanne Summers. Suzanne Summers, especially if you're in the boob department, which I used to go shopping in. Let me tell you. I shouldn't tell you. I did date a girl before Jillian and I ever met, who had the sort of bouncy boobs that stopped traffic. She was magnificent. And she dressed up as Jessica Rabbit one year and fucking stopped the Halloween party when she walked in. Oh my God. Yeah. But so anyways, fond memories. Linda Carter, fire. She was. Give me some Kim Basinger from Batman. Yeah, Kim Basinger was definitely hot. Hotter in 9.5 weeks. Grow up. Oh my God, Kathy Ireland. She was hot. Those eyes. It was her eyes and what? Susanna Hoffs from the Bengals I'm going to do my Susanna Hoffs from the Bengals where they zoom in on her eyes and they'll walk like an Egyptian video. And she's like, walk like an Egyptian. And she does that eye thing that, oh my God. The eyes. Something special about those eyes. What is it? The line in that movie, The House Bunny? The eyes are the nipples of the face. Kathy Ireland was also an actress. In fact, she was so good, one of her flicks even made it on Mystery Science Theater 3000. Yeah, that's the thing. Kathy Ireland was in the Unnecessary Roughness as the kicker on that team. Otherwise, Kathy, the thing is, she had such a high-pitched voice. It was hard to take her seriously as a thespian. Sharon Stone. She was hot. Sharon Stone was absolutely hot. She had a 97-mile-an-hour fastball with cut, especially in Basic Instinct, no doubt. Phoebe Cates. Shout out to Phoebe Cates. Monster moment getting out of that pool in Fast Times Ridgemont. Come on. Jacqueline Smith. Charlie Angels, Jacqueline Smith, yes. Susan Day from the Partridge Family, a little bit buck-toothy for me, I got to be honest with you. Nobody else thought Florence Henderson was hot. Florence Henderson was hot, absolutely. She was hot. But that's something that you appreciate later in life. We were all too busy looking at Marsha. Marsha. The green eyes. See, you know. Nathaniel, boy, did I touch a nerve today. Nathaniel Richards felt like Kathy Ireland looked directly into my teenage soul. Oh. Jennifer Connelly, career opportunities when she's on the coin-operated horse. Mind-blowing. Absolutely mind-blowing. No doubt. Here we go. Elle McPherson and Susanna Hoffs, too. Speaking of Green Eyes, the walk like an Egyptian. Absolutely. JJ Rader, you still got that ex's number? Asking for a friend. She's in Florida now. Gone. How did we get here? That's a great question. Thank you for asking, AJ. How did we get here? I believe this is called just mind flow. You know what? Since we're just, talking about moments of developmental libido, what's her name from Who's the Boss? That Who's the Boss worked on all levels of hotness. You had Mona, grandma hot. You had Judith Light, who was mom hot. And then, of course, Alyssa Milano, who was age-appropriate hot. And since we're talking about my school age-appropriate hotness, Saved by the Bell. Saved by the Bell. You had age-appropriate hotness all over the place. Alyssa Milano, there you go. Mona, you know it. That's what I'm talking about. What's her name? What was her name? Saved by the Bell. Oh my God. I mean, maybe the best looking Kelly Kapowski. Exactly. That's the thing. I'm so stuck on Kelly Kapowski. I can't remember her real name right now. Kelly Kapowski's real name was Tiffany Amber Thiessen. Look at that. Boom. Tiffany Amber Thiessen. Damon, what about Topanga? At that point, she was a little too young for me. No. But Kelly and Lisa? Well, here's the thing. The Lisa Turtle, she was so hot. It's funny that the girl who went on to star in Striptease was the one that we wanted to see naked the least, right? Nicole Eggert, Charles in Charge, Elizabeth Berkley, and Showgirls. Again, we are. Where are we, AJ Cruz? We are down the rabbit hole. And we're this far down the rabbit hole. I guess the only thing left to say is, look, you don't need to go home. Hopefully you come to Victory Hall on November 5th. We can talk about all our teenage crushes in person. I'm sure Jillian would be, I'm sure she'll tell you all about it. You don't have to go home. You just can't stay here.